Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Animal shelters across the country are near capacity. That includes shelters in Virginia. The Roanoke Valley SPCA is a safe shelter and offers more than just pet adoption services. Marketing Director Julie Rickmond is here to tell us more. The Southern Virginia Child Advocacy Center's mission states every child has the right to a safe, permanent home, a loving and supportive environment. Executive Director Joyce Moran is here to talk about their services and how you can help children in need. We'll meet these women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act, right after this.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by Cabbie Fashions take you from the boardroom to the beach. Dress for a garden party or a night on the town. Independent cabbie stylist Darlene Marshall will make sure you look your best no matter what the occasion. She'll bring the store to your home for you and your friends or schedule a private consultation. Call Darlene 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, or find her on Instagram at Dapper Darling, on Facebook at Darlene Marshall Independent Cabbie Stylist.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they'd be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to individuals, families, and small businesses. Contact Pat at 540-798-8104. 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with a loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberly.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberly. The Roanoke Valley SPCA is so much more than an adoption center for pets. It provides other services including therapy animal visits to nursing homes. Marketing Director Julie Rickmond is here to tell us more about the Roanoke Valley SPCA and how it is serving the region. And thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. Tell us about the Roanoke Valley SPCA and how it is different from municipal shelters.
So municipal shelters are commonly referred to as the pound. Those are the shelters that are more obligated to take in stray pets. And they do that and they hold the pet so that then their owner can come and find them. We do not take in strays at our facility. We are a limited intake facility. So we are considered a no-kill shelter.
Okay.
We would never euthanize for space, only for like medical reasons or something like that. So we take in pets from municipal shelters to help relieve them when they become full. So locally in our region, the Regional Center for Animal Care and Protection is located right next door to us, actually. So we pull about 65% of our pets from them.
Okay.
Right.
And so you would never take, if somebody has to relinquish a pet, you don't take those in from...
We do.
You, from owners?
Yes,
oh, you do.
We do. We take in owner relinquishments.
As long as you have room?
As long as we have room. And we also do an evaluation of the pet. So we're a small shelter.
Okay.
So we would evaluate the pet and make sure, for instance, that the pet isn't too large for one of our kennels. So we max out at about 100 pounds for dogs or so. But if they're really leggy, they may not be the good
Best
fit.
Like Literally.
Right, exactly. So they have to have room to stretch out completely when they're laying down. So, we don't want them to be uncomfortable in the shelter.
Right.
And at that point, if they're not a good match, or if they're maybe they're scared of other dogs or something like that. So being around other dogs so much is not going to be great for them. That's when we try those alternative routes to try and get them into another home.
Well, that's good. And I know the question always comes up, and we probably can guess, but just give us a little bit of why there are so many cats and dogs and why they have to go to shelters, and what, probably what we could do about it. I think we'll get into that next.
Absolutely. So really the biggest thing is spaying and neutering. Spaying and neutering helps tremendously for our shelter staff and for the pets in our community. For one, it's healthier for your pet to spay and neuter. And I don't know if you know, but a kitten can actually can get pregnant at 4 months old.
No, I didn't know
So
that.
a kitten can have kittens. So when they breed prolifically, and we get overrun. So we actually have a kitten season here in our area, and in most areas across the country. Normally it's in the warmer months. Normally it takes place kind of through the summer, but what we've been experiencing is it is lasting longer and longer each year.
Oh my goodness.
So we are just inundated with especially cats and kittens. We've done a little bit better, I think, getting our dogs spayed and neutered. And it just really is key to helping keep that pet population down. So we have some folks that want to wait till their pet is maybe older, maybe a year old. Well, the problem with that is they can become pregnant way before that. So they can have litters before that. And again, we just don't have the room. So somebody one time asked me if, well, maybe somebody rich could donate to you and you could just build a bigger shelter. And that's not, unfortunately, the answer. It would just fill up too.
It would. I totally agree. And I think we'll probably get into this, but since our audience, we have a lot of women maybe a little bit older in life, what if they would love to adopt a pet, or have a pet, but they can't afford to get it spayed or neutered? They want to be a good steward. They want to give a home to an animal. Do you guys have any options for them?
Absolutely. So we have some options other than adoption too, which could be really helpful for us and for them. So fostering is key for us. It expands, like I said, we're a small shelter. So it really expands the physical walls of our shelter, outside to the community. So we can only house so many pets. And right now I think we have 30 kittens in foster, and sometimes we have 50 or 60 kittens in foster care. So then that really helps us with our space. We can't house all those cats and kittens and puppies and dogs at one time. We have 11 big dog runs and 11 small dog runs. So if we can have these pets out in foster, and we provide everything for foster care.
Okay, listen up.
Right?
This is really important. Yes.
So we provide the food. You just have to live within an hour so that you can bring the pet back for vet checks. So most foster, they're at least 2 weeks. Some are longer. We've had a dog in foster for several months because he has heartworms. So he's going through the heartworm treatment before he's going to be adopted. But while he's in foster care, we take care of the bedding, the crates, the food, all that stuff. You just open your heart and home to an animal.
I love this option. So most people probably know you offer pet adoption service, but you also have a program that takes animals into nursing homes. So please, now that COVID's over, tell us about it.
Yeah, so we did have that delay in there for a while with COVID. We couldn't visit anybody, and we were so sad. So now that we are able to visit again, we're extremely happy. We have some animal ambassadors on our team. We consider them part of our staff. You may have heard about Polly, who actually just retired. So Polly's about 12 years old, and she's one of our animal ambassadors who would love to go to area assisted living facilities and visit with folks there. She just enjoys meeting folks so much, and they just light up when they see her. So we love doing that. She's a great ambassador for animals. She teaches folks about humane education, and for folks who can't have that animal in their life, it's just great to be able to pet an animal and see them right next to you. And she might slobber a little bit too.
Well, I think that's perfect, and I think it brings a lot of joy to these people.
Absolutely.
So we are talking with Roanoke Valley SPCA Marketing Director Julie Rickmond. And what reaction do you get from these nursing home residents? You said that they light up. I bet they even, like, isn't a good mental stimulation as well as emotional and other,
It definitely is. Pets are just mood boosters.
They are.
You come in and you see that loving face. They don't judge you. They don't criticize you. You just get to love on them. We know that pets have a dramatic effect on our health. Most people who have pets, they walk more, they exercise more.
They live longer.
They live longer. And
listen,
right?
Right.
And for these folks in the community, in fact, so Polly is very, very allergic to like beef, chicken, and lamb. So she's a special dog. She can't have all the foods and treats out there. So when she would go visit residents, they had her special treats, and they would actually squirrel them away in their pockets for her visit. So they could.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
So that just shows the importance that having animals in your life really is.
They just light up.
Yes, and it combats loneliness. You have somebody to talk to, so you don't feel silly talking to yourself. Somebody to watch out for you. Even
Absolutely.
That's a feeling of security. I think there's so many benefits. I would never be without a pet. And as we mentioned earlier, part of your mission is to find forever homes for animals. What are the benefits of having a pet in your life? We could go on and on.
Absolutely. There's all those health benefits. We've found that purring actually is a great thing for folks to have.
Yes.
To hear that cat's purr. It can really stimulate the body to do amazing things. So we know that people exercise more with their pets, like we said.
Yes.
That they're just those mood boosters.
They have to take care of something, so that makes them a little bit more
purpose.
Yes.
Right. And so they're just it makes people healthier.
And
really,
security too, for people that are older, maybe living alone.
Right.
Having a small dog. That's it doesn't have to be huge or hard to handle. It could just be something
Absolutely.
that could alert you.
Right.
So I think that we could go on and on.
There's so many benefits.
So many benefits here. So having a cat or dog is good for us. But what questions should we answer before looking for what questions should we talk about before looking for a pet companion? This is important.
It is very, very important because we want to make sure that we, like at our facility, we want to match you with your perfect match. We want you to meet your match here. So some of the things you can think about are, how long is this pet going to live? What are the costs associated with this pet?
Yes.
So veterinary costs, food costs. Does the pet have any health issues that you should be aware of? So you really want to plan for your lifestyle as well. Okay. If you are more of a couch potato, or if you're out hiking all the time, or maybe you're somewhere.
So even your activity level,
absolutely,
is very important.
Very, very key, because what we want to do at our shelter is, like I said, get that information from you so that we can match you with that perfect pet that is going to do well in your home. We don't want you to have to bring the pet back. You can. That's totally fine too. Sure. Sometimes you get a pet home and they're,
just wasn't a good fit for whatever
and that
reason.
doesn't mean that there's not another
and don't give
fit.
up. Yes,
exactly.
Yes, totally. I think that's really good advice. And first of all, I want to re-mention that we're talking with Roanoke Valley SPCA Director Julie Rickmond, and we are in the shelter looking for a pet. We see one we connect with. We asked about what questions we should ask, but what is asked of us as well if we want to adopt?
When we have folks come in, we actually have them fill out an application before meeting any of the pets.
Perfect.
That tells us more information about your lifestyle.
So you don't fall in love with the wrong.
Exactly, right. We don't want to show you an animal that's like super high energy and then you fall in love and you're like, I can't really have this in my house. So we get a little bit of information from you to begin with. And then our adoption counselors do a great job about knowing about our pets so that we can connect you then with those pets.
So
and
just bring your questions and be ready.
Right.
Okay, and your box. I always say that. So once a pet has been adopted, you offer help to keep them there. Tell us about your pet retention services. That's really interesting.
It is very, very important to us to keep pets in their loving homes. We don't want to have to bring a pet into the shelter if we don't have to. I always tell people that, whether the pet has come from a very, very loving home or maybe not the greatest home, bringing them into the shelter is a trauma.
Sure.
We love the pets in our care, and we have amazing staff who takes great care of them. But if you think about it, the pet has lost everything it knows. The people, the location, the sights, the smells are all different. So if we can keep a pet in their home, it's much more beneficial for them. It's beneficial for us because we don't have to, keep bringing that pet back. So it's the things that we offer Care Fund. It helps with extraordinary veterinary costs. We offer pet food assistance to help you get over that hurdle. We work with Meals on Wheels. We partner with local human food pantries to have so that they have pet food on hand for people who need their services. What we have found and discovered too is that people were actually feeding pets their own meals because they couldn't.
And they love their pet.
Right. And so we offer transitional foster assistance. So if you're going into the hospital for a month and you don't have somebody to take care of your pet, we can potentially get your pet into a foster home for that month and then get them back to you. We don't want to take your pet from you.
Right. You want to help them keep it.
Exactly.
That's perfect. And finally, we need to wrap it up, but what are some volunteer opportunities for people that do want to help?
We have tons of volunteer opportunities. You can walk dogs. We love our cat room cleaners. They do so much for us, especially during kitten season. So we have cat room cleaners, office assistants, so you can answer phones. You can help us. We need bilingual folks to help us translate things. We have so many volunteer photography assistants.
Everything.
So many volunteer opportunities, and you can check our website for that.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Julie. It's been a pleasure.
It's been so nice. Thank you so much for having us.
It's my pleasure. And we will have the Roanoke Valley SPCA's contact information today in today's show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondact.com. When we come back, thousands of Virginia children are abused and neglected every year. One area organization is fighting on their behalf. We'll learn more after the break.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with a loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women build wealth and security. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberly.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberly. In the United States, millions of children are abused, neglected, or abandoned by their families every year. The Southern Virginia Advocacy Center is dedicated to promoting the well-being of children through treatment, advocacy, prevention, and education. Here to tell us how they carry out that mission is Executive Director Joyce Moran. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about the Southern Virginia CAC. What do you all do?
It's a mouthful. I hear you. What do we do? So the Southern Virginia Child Advocacy Center is actually our brick and mortar facilities. We have one in Rocky Mount and we have a satellite in Patrick County. So these are the host and homes for all of our victim services.
Okay. So that's where you start with. And I think now you can tell us, because you have a large coverage area, tell us about that. How far are you spread out, even though you have these two brick and mortar business facilities?
Well, we've been in victim services for a very long time. Okay. We began about 29 years ago with our CASA program, which is judicial advocacy, and over time grew services to better complement what was already existing resources in each of the communities.
How much territory does this encompass?
So we cover Franklin County, Patrick County, Henry County, Pittsylvania County, and the city of Martinsville.
Quite a large territory.
Yes.
My goodness. Okay. So that's a very large, diverse area. And how do you determine what programs each area needs?
That's a wonderful question. So some of the services we do are built in code. The Code of Virginia defines that certain things need to be provided based on, if you're a Commonwealth attorney, there's code saying that you need to develop a team. If it's a CASA program, you have to have judicial approval. You know, there's several things that we have to do besides doing community needs assessments, engaging in relationship building to know that our partnerships are committed to the complex, comprehensive, and oftentimes tedious expectations that we have to remain accredited.
So a lot of bureaucracy
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well as hands-on
Yes.
work.
Yes.
And we know you're doing a survey. Just tell us a little bit about that, maybe to get you some more interest in filling it out.
Absolutely. It's important for us not to think or derive we know what every community we serve needs. We do have input and influence because we're there.
Right.
But I really care about what the residents or those that work in these communities see every single day, and can recognize from a community standpoint of needs and resources, and from a family needs and resources perspective of what might be beneficial. So we list several things on our survey. We can't do it all, but it's really important for us to know what's important to families. And if we can't do it, we share that information with others who may be looking for data to support what they do.
Absolutely. We are talking with Joyce Moran, Executive Director of the Southern Virginia Child Advocacy Center. And I guess there's so much to talk about with this, but your services are comprehensive, starting with court-appointed special advocates, or CASA. That wanted to get that out there. Explain what a Casa Volunteer does, please.
CASA was established about 46 years ago. So our program is 29 years old. So we've been engaged in this model of practice for a long time, where we engage community members to advocate for children in a court setting as a result of abuse or neglect, or that a child is in need of services or supervision. So those are some petition types that we may be involved with.
Okay, that sounds really good. And who can be a CASA volunteer? And CASA is a national program now, right?
And CASA is a national program. It began in Seattle, Washington, 46 years ago. And who can be a CASA volunteer? CASAs come from all walks of life. So there's some predeterminate foundational expectations. One, individuals need to be 21 years of age or older. They have to be able to communicate effectively both orally and in writing. And then there's several background searches that we're going to have to conduct. So you're going to have national fingerprint checks, local law enforcement checks, child protective services checks, sexual offender checks. There's a whole litany of things that we need to look at individuals before we could even enroll them in the training. In addition, we do reference checks. There's ongoing assessment during their training, and there's 2 interviews that they have to go through before we can consider appointing them.
My goodness, so that's probably a little off-putting to some people, but very, very important. And I think most people are willing to go through all of that for the safety of everyone involved.
Absolutely.
And so it's good that you mentioned all of them, just so that they know before they apply
That's right.
what they're going to be going through, and that's very important.
And we do try and hold information sessions, so our next training will be this fall. So we
Okay.
will hold some trainings in September where individuals can come, meet us, learn about the program, and then we'll have established volunteers there as well to talk from their perspective.
I like that. Now, before they can take these class, are they screened at that point, or do they go through the whole thing? And at what point? I thought your requirements were stringent and important. Do they know that before they come to these volunteer opportunities?
They will have to go through their background checks and reference checks.
So they're already screened.
They're entered into
I
training.
think that's a really good idea, because people could otherwise just say, "Oh, I'll see what it's like," without really understanding all the repercussions. And then another service you offer is the Child Abuse Review Team, or CART. What does this team do, and who is involved in this process?
So we started with our CASA program, which is Judicial Advocacy for Children. And there's another model, which is a Child Advocacy Center model. It's a national model as well, where you engage not only the judicial side of it, but the investigative side of it, the medical treatment side of it, the mental health side of it, the family advocacy side of it. So there's several sides of that particular model, and that's where we have a resource office for CART. So as I said, every Commonwealth Attorney's Office has a statutory responsibility to develop a team. And so we've been blessed to have been providing that service to some localities since 1996.
That's amazing. And a team is so important. You could see how something, so it doesn't slip through the cracks or whatever. It's all got to be monitored. Very, very good. We are talking with Joyce Moran, Executive Director of the Southern Virginia Child Advocacy Center. And once this team finishes the review, what happens next? So you review them, and then what?
That's a great question too, because it's not a review.
Oh.
It's a continual review, at least every 30 days, of every new emergent case and every open case.
Excellent.
And on those teams, you have to have certain individuals by law, and then we have to have certain individuals in addition by our accreditation standards. So minimally, you're going to find a Commonwealth attorney, law enforcement, and that may be a sheriff's office, police department, or both. It depends on what's in your community.
Okay.
You're going to have clinicians sit on the team. You're going to have medical people sit on the team. You're going to have a representative from the Child Advocacy Center sit on the team. With ours, we have the schools, juvenile probation and parole. Some of them have shelters, like domestic violence shelters. So there's a whole conglomerate of those who will have the ability to change and support the better outcomes for children.
And does each child have to meet with all of these people?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's wonderful. That's where I was getting a little concerned. Like, if you're a young child, that would be quite a bit.
Yes, and so the Department of Social Services is also a representative on that team as well. So when I said investigators, it's law enforcement and the Department of Social Services.
So it's kind of the background people sometimes, a little bit?
Front row people and back row people.
Oh, very good. Very good to know.
Typically, a referral will come to us for a forensic interview. So a forensic interview is another service we do.
Yes.
Where we have trained individuals who will interview children. We don't interrogate children.
Right.
With the investigators watching. So that's law enforcement, the Department of Social Services, one or the other. So most of the time it's both, depending on the case. And then we'll find out the information from the child's perspective and be able to work with law enforcement and the Department of Social Services on what their next steps are. So at the same time, this child will go on our roster to be reviewed by the team. So there's a forensic interview happening at the same, concurrently.
Yes.
And then if there's allegations of sexual assault and it's non-emergent, we have a medical clinic on site. So the nurse could also hear the forensic interview and then immediately do the forensic medical examination on site.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you hate to even think of that, but it's very important to make it as least traumatic as possible.
And with that regard, that's why I very much appreciate, we also do family advocacy.
Okay.
So while this is happening, typically in the past, families were just waiting. And so our advocates say, hi, my name is Joyce, and what do you know about child advocacy centers? And then we talk to them about where they are and what we do.
Well, that sounds so important. And because you're a nonprofit, how can our listeners and viewers help you carry out your mission?
There's a lot of ways. Individuals, we need Casa Volunteers. We need them desperately. So to be an advocate for a child in court is one way. Funding, and it's not just cash. We're a nonprofit, so I do appreciate the toilet paper, the paper towels, the cleaning supplies, paper, pens, files, absolutely. And then we also do fundraisers. So to have volunteers help us with our races or things like that. That's so important.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. And we will have the contact information for the Southern Virginia Child Advocacy Center in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com. And we'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Kathy's wardrobe provided by Cabby stylist Darlene Marshall. See the styles in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com.
I want to thank Julie Rickmond and Joyce Moran for joining us today. From Julie, we learned the many benefits that owning or fostering a pet can bring to your life. Joyce shared the great need they have for volunteers to carry out their mission of bettering children's lives. I'm Kathy Heberly. Join us again next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.